Right, morning fellas, welcome back to another Villa on Tour video today. I'm not on my own, I'm going to be joined by Simon in a little bit to talk about last night's game against Liverpool in the FA Cup, and then we're going to talk a little bit about transfers later on as well. But just before we get onto that, I'm just going to say a massive thank you for the support on the Man United videos, the first one I did since I had my little break, and the support on that's been mad. All the lovely comments as well, it really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. Leave a like on this video as well. If we can hit 1,000 likes on this, it'll be very much appreciated. Subscribe if you haven't already as well, because we are on the road to 40,000 subscribers, which is mad. A lot more content on the way. Maybe not on Wednesday because that game looks like it may be getting cancelled, or who knows. But do subscribe because there is plenty of content on the way on the channel. Again, just before we get on to the main bit of the video, massive shout out to Luke 1977 as well. I have been away, but the Max20 code still exists. So use Max20 over there to get yourself a massive 20% discount on whatever you buy as well. There's already discounts over there. So if you use Max20 as well, you get a further 20% off. So you're going to get yourself some cheap clothing over there. And it is really good quality as well. So definitely check that out. Link in the description. Use Max20 for 20% off. But without further ado, I'm going to jump on a call with Simon and let's chat about last night. Yep, I'm recording as well, so I should be able to sync that up all good. Right then, I'm joined by Simon. Now, last night was probably the most proud I've been after a 4-1 defeat, which is quite weird, but how did you see last night's game?
To be honest, before the game, I was concerned when I saw the team sheets, especially the Liverpool side with Salah and Mane up front. I was a bit concerned. I did think we'd get beat heavily, and yet we did really well, didn't we? I think obviously the scoreline is what you sort of expected, but I think the overall performance and holding them for a good hour, especially that first half, I think it was more than you could sort of expect, and so you've got to be really proud of the players, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. I think when the team news came out, I was shocked because all Klopp's done this season after every single game is moan about how many fixtures he's got. He has to play midweek because they play in Europe as well, and then he goes out and plays Mane, Salah, Henderson, Fabinho in a game like this against 18-year-olds. It's a little bit weird, but I think there was so many positives last night. Like, all the players should be so proud of themselves. I think if I had to pick out, we'll talk about LOUIE Barry in a little bit more detail in a bit, but I think for me, I think the centre-back pairing had to get a little bit of praise as well, because I think Mungo Bridge and Dominic Raven. I remember Dominic Raven being on the bench when we were in the Championship like ages ago, but we saw him last night. He's a Villa fan. I thought those two are brilliant as well. The goalkeeper made a couple of really good saves. Who stood out for you?
I think, as you said, I think it was a collective performance. Obviously, the goalkeeper made 4 or 5 really top draw saves, which if he hadn't have been, the score would have been different. I think you're right. We Revan at the back with Bridge was really sort of solid, and then for me, I think the left back row, I think he didn't put a foot wrong all night, and then obviously he set up the goal for Barry. I thought he looked really good, and then the other one for me, I thought in the centre of the park, Silla, I think his name was. I thought he was really solid as well, breaking up the play. I think the pleasing thing was we didn't roll over. We gave Liverpool a really tough game, and I think to be fair, I think Klopp said that, and James Milner said that in the post match, and I think that's all you can ask for, isn't it? I think it was pretty much a schoolboy side, and yet we took the champions of England all the way, especially in the second half when you saw them bringing off the bench all those multi-million-pound players, Firmino and all people like that, which was a bit crazy really when you think about how young our team was. Yeah,
they had to bring on World Cup winners, Champions League winners, Premier League winners at half-time just to break down a bunch of children. And on BT they were saying their parents dropped them off today at Villa Park, whatever, but when they walked out before the game, you could literally see they're not men yet, they're not fully built, and it was just crazy to see, and the determination they showed, and just, I think we were quite organised as well, like set up, we did really well. We were packing into the box and making it really hard for these world-class players to break us down, so that was really impressive. We'll talk about the goal. LOUIE Barry, like you said, row with the assist. It's a class ball through, and I might be getting ahead of myself a little bit, but there's shades of Jamie Vardy there. Like LOUIE Barry, I know, like I said earlier, he's not fully built, he's still 17, but the pace he showed there, and it's a class finish, isn't it? Like the power he gets on that, it's just so composed as well. It'd be easy for like a 17-year-old just to panic there and just boot at the goalkeeper, but it's a really great finish, and the celebrations after were absolutely class, and all the photos that have come out and the interview after the game with Louie Barry as well, him saying that he went to Barcelona but he came back to Villa because his dad's Villa, his whole family are Villa, and it's the right place to be, and it was just so good to see, and the celebrations, like I said, were great. But what a finish that was.
Yeah, it was, and I think you're right. It did sort of remind you of like Jamie Vardy, and I think Klopp said that in his post-match interview. He said he mentioned Louie Barry and he called him Little Vardy or something like that, and it did remind you of that. He got that turn of pace and that sort of excellent finish. I mean, he had, you know, like a striker playing that sort of game when you don't get any sort of chances in the whole game. He had one and he took it absolutely brilliantly, didn't they? And yeah, to be honest with you, it's the first time I've really seen him play. He hasn't been playing that much in the under-23s in the last year or so. I think he's become a regular this season, but before that, he was in and outside of injuries and stuff. Just after he joined from Barcelona, but yeah, there's really positive signs. But see, I just kept thinking. I mean, he grew up being a Villa fan, with his whole family being a Villa fan. I think born 6 miles from Villa Park in Sutton Coldfield, I think. And could you? I mean, can you just imagine being a 17-year-old Villa fan scoring a goal like that against the you know, sort of England's champions in the FA Cup? I mean, it's what dreams are made of, isn't it? Really, and it's just something that I think all of us would absolutely love to do.
Yeah, and there was a funny moment at the end of the game as well where he gave his shirt to Fabinho, and I was quite shocked when he did that. Like, why would you give away your debut shirt? And then one of the backroom staff was like, mate, you should probably go and get that. But yeah, that was absolutely class. And an interesting one is sort of what happens now. Like, does he sort of, I think before today, a lot of fans were saying, oh, get him on the bench or whatever in the Premier League games, and I for one was like, absolutely not. Like, just, he's nowhere near that level yet. But there's sort of a debate here with him and Keenan Davis. Keenan Davis turns 23 next month. Louie Barry's 17. It might be a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, but do you bring Louie Barry into the Premier League picture? Do you bring him onto the bench maybe? Keenan Davis doesn't score goals, and without Ollie Watkins, who doesn't score goals, there is a bit of an issue there. So do you put him on the bench? Do you bring him into the picture? Because I know he trains with the first team, doesn't he? But is it too early? Is this a knee-jerk reaction? What are your thoughts?
I think for me, you need to look more long-term and look long-term in his development. And so for that reason, I'd say no, I wouldn't put him on the bench. And I think if you look at Keenan Davis, I think he needed a loan spell. And I think, to be honest with you, I think that time has come and gone. At 23, I think he's not going to be going out on loan now well, he could do, but I mean, it's not going to really enhance his development sort of thing now. It should have happened 2-3 seasons ago, sort of thing. So I think we sort of ruined our chance with that with Davis, to be honest with you. So with Barry, to me, I think I'd let him continue to develop in the under-23 setup, and I'd try and get him a loan move as soon as possible to like a League 1, League 2 sort of club. I mean, you've seen in years gone by what that's done to players. Like if you look at when Grealish went to Notts County all them years ago, it sort of set him up, didn't it, to sort of build himself up, and it makes these players stronger. They're playing against men week in, week out, playing proper football. It's totally different than to playing under 23 or under 19 football. And that's the only problem. I see what you mean about you saying Keenan Davis doesn't score goals and Louie Barry looks like a natural finisher. But to me, I think obviously we've got Wesley coming back from injury. We all know that if an opportunity came our way, we would probably strengthen in that department as well. And so I probably wouldn't put too much pressure on him at the moment, and I probably wouldn't keep him in the first team setup at the moment. I just think it'd be better for his development if he continued that in the reserve setup. But obviously, try and get him a loan move as soon as possible.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think, look, he's still only 17. I agree with the Keenan Davis comments you made there. I think we have sort of missed the boat there. I think if you loaned him out, 3 years ago, and he had a couple of years in the Championship playing week in, week out, that really would have, benefited him massively. But for me, Louie Barry, I think, it's doing him well, being in training with the first team and playing with players like Jack Grealish and learning off them, learning off Ollie Watkins how to be a better striker, things like that. So keep him at Villa, keep him in the under-23s until maybe in a couple of years you look at loaning him out, like you said, at even National League level, just to get him playing with men, playing against men's football, because at the moment in the under-23s he's playing against players his own age who maybe aren't fully developed themselves. So even if you loan him out to the National League, League 2, just to start playing against men and being a little bit more physical. But there's definitely a prospect there. Might be jumping the gun a little bit based on last night, but he's still a great player. But enough of that. We will move on to transfers now, and we were saying before we came on, Jack Grealish is in the thumbnail to this video, but that is a load of rubbish. That's just to get clicks from Man United fans because all the media do it, so why can't I do it? But I don't think there'll be too many incomings this window. I don't even think there'll be any, if I'm honest. I think we'll probably save it for the summer, where I think we'll do a similar thing to last year, where we'll bring in 4 or 5 real players of quality that will not just bolster the first team, but just make the depth a little bit better in this squad. But like I said, I don't think there'll be anything major this window. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think there's a few reasons as to why we won't be that busy, and I think that this goes for probably most of the clubs up and down the land, to be honest with you. I think number one, obviously, is the current pandemic that we're going through. I think if you look at all the clubs, obviously coming back with positive cases like Villa, I think there was a debate on the radio yesterday I was listening to, and they were saying it was highlighting Brandon Williams at Man United, and they were how they were saying that ahead of him they've got Luke Shaw and Tellez at United, and they were saying that clubs are interested in Williams, but Solskjaer is really reluctant to let him go, just because all of a sudden, if they do get an outbreak at Man United, say, a few players, it sort of makes your team really threadbare. And so I don't think teams are willing to let players go. Obviously, you got the old thing about teams not willing to let the best players go in January. I think those times have come and gone, to be honest. You go back a long time ago when Villa signed Ashley Young in January from Watford, who were battling relegation at the time. We managed to get him for 10 million at the time. I just think those days have gone. I think these clubs who are battling relegation would never ever sell the best players anymore. It's like saying we sold Grealish last January, when we were in the relegation mire. I just don't think it happens anymore. So yeah, I think the pandemic, clubs not wanting to sell the best players, and then I think there's also the Brexit issue as well. I think if you're trying to sign players from the continent, it just made it a little bit more difficult now with all the red tape, and I think Sam Allardyce at West Brom was saying that only last week, that he got a couple of players lined up, but because of the new Brexit regulations, he wasn't able to bring them in. So I don't see much happening, to be honest, and I think it also comes down to the fact that if you're going to add to your squad, you need to be adding quality, not just quantity. Something we've done before. You look at last January when we signed Samatta, didn't really improve on what we had, did he at all? And I think that's what you've got to be careful of. You can pay decent money and not end up with anything better than what you've already got. So I don't see anything much happening. In an ideal world with Tyner, you could pinpoint a few areas where we'd strengthen, but I don't see much happening, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think last year we sort of had to do something. We were struggling with relegation. We were firmly in the battle of going down, and we had to sign a striker, and it was sort of panic buying, 8 million on a striker from Belgium that is not proven in Samatta. Get him in. It purely was panic. But I think right now, where there's more important things going on at the club in terms of the pandemic and things like that, and we're comfortable. We're not going down. I think Europe, we could push for Europe, but I just think there's more important things going on. I don't think there's any real need to get anybody in. Look, there isn't a lot of quality on that bench in the matchday squad, I think. But look, we've still got Ross Barkley to come back, Trezeguet to come back. So I think this season we'll be absolutely fine, and then in the summer we will be going again. Like I said earlier, Wesley's still got to come back, but for me, you look at these videos and he's he's working with the ball now. He's back on the grass and things like that. But I don't think he's going to be back to full fitness within surely like 2 months ish, and then he's still got to get up to sharpness as well. So there's a lot of things riding on that. But let's be hypothetical. What would you go for in the summer? Let's talk a little bit about transfers then. Like what areas of the pitch would you be looking at? Because I think for me, you've got to look at both full-back areas with Taylor and El Mohammadi's deals coming to an end in the summer as well. And even with Wesley coming back, I think you've got to look at a striker as well. So for me, you've got both full-backs and the striker. Those are the main positions we should be looking at for the rest of the season in preparation for the summer.
Yeah, I think it's padding out the squad, isn't it? I think we've got a good first 11, and beyond that, it's not particularly great. But to be honest with you, that isn't a criticism at all, though. I think we're only back in our second year back in the Premier League, and so we're never going to have a total 18-man squad, which is absolute quality. It's not going to happen. So we need to pad out the squad, definitely. Obviously, we need to look up top. We've got Watkins. You don't know how Wesley's going to come back, and we've just said Keenan Davis doesn't score goals. And then you go through the rest of it, and I think at centre half I think that's an area you could possibly look at, because I think Engels doesn't really get a look in, and I think the club would be probably willing to let him go if a right offer came in. So you might be looking at another centre half, and then the full back positions, like you said. The left back one's a bit more obvious. Obviously, we got Target, who's by the way has had a really good season so far. But then in reserve for him, you've already got Taylor, and he's out of contract, and he won't get a new deal, I wouldn't have thought. And then on the right-hand side, obviously, you got Cash, who's been great. And then Al Mohamed, the strange part for me is that Al Mohamed seems to be the second choice at the moment. And that's nothing against Al Mohamed, it's just the fact that he's out of contract end of the season, very unlikely to get a new one. But we've still got Freddie Gilbert in reserve, and to me, I can see like a scenario come to the end of the season when we end up getting rid of 2 right backs in Al Mohamed and him, and then we end up having to try and buy another backup right back, which don't really make much sense to me because Gilbert's a very able backup at least, and so to me you'd be sort of integrating him as your second choice already. But I'm not the manager. I don't know what's going on behind closed doors. I don't know how the players are training, so maybe there's something there that we can't see. So there's that, and then possibly central midfield as well. I just feel that once, if you had McGinn injured or Douglas Luiz go off injured, I think you are a little bit short there. Obviously, you got Hurihan, who possibly might look at moving on because he's not getting much football. You got the young lad Jacob Ramsey, who obviously looks quite good. But and obviously you got Nakamba as well, but there's not a lot there in reserve, so I don't know whether we'd need to look at something like that.
Yeah, definitely. The Horahan thing is weird. Surely he'll look to get a move because at his age, turning 30 or whatever he is, I think he wants to be playing football. Henry Lansbury's, his contract's out in the summer, is that right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, finally. Yeah.
Yeah, so surely he's going to be out the door. And like you said, just all over the sort of 11, you've got to just be making that a little bit stronger. And I think if it's anything like last summer, I think last summer was one of the best windows that I've seen in my time supporting Villa. Just pretty much all of them have worked. Matty Cash, like you said, brilliant. Martinez, one of the best signings in the whole Premier League, in my opinion. He's been unreal. Traore took a little bit of time to get going, but he's been great. Watkins struggled for goals a little bit, but he scored a hat-trick against the Premier League champions, 2 against Arsenal, and you can see there's a real good play there. So all over the squad, there's been great signings. I think if we can replicate the sort of success of that in this summer, I think we're on to a winner, and then we can push a little bit more and maybe even go for the European spots next summer as well. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, massively appreciated. Thank you to Simon for coming on, top man. Subscribe if you are new, on the road to 40,000 subscribers. Leave a like on the video as well. Let's hit 1,000 likes on that one. But I'll see you in the next one. Don't know when that will be because of the whole COVID outbreak at Villa, but I'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Up the Villa.